when we first came to Alabama, we didn't know anybody, but we were told where we could find the superintendent of schools, so we went to see him. And when we got permission to go, we went to schools and asked the principal if we could come, and we got permission to go to some of the schools, and we made appointments to go. And some of the schools, or most of the schools really, didn't have a place for us to meet except in the schoolrooms. So we each had equipment. We had the board,
flannel board,
and the easel, and a little
briefcase
with the story in. And we go to the school, and some of the schools didn't have auditoriums, so we each had equipment, and we each would go to a classroom. And at first we had about 7 schools, I think, and that number grew. We would go once a month and tell the story, and then we would offer the children the opportunity to learn Bible verses, and if they'd learned the Bible verses, they would get awards. They could earn a Gospel of John for St. John 3:16, and 25 verses for New Testament, and 25 more for Christian War motto, and 50 more for, I think it was 100 more for a Bible, and then 100 more, and they could go to camp for, I think at first they could go to camp for nothing. I'm not sure of that, because now they have to pay, and they have had to for a long time. But at first, they could learn enough verses, 300 I think it was, so they would be able to go to camp for nothing. And the teachers would listen to the Bible verses between our visits. But then my co-worker and I had to write letters and let people know that these children were coming to camp, and we were paying for it if they would send us the money. So we had several who would send the money in, and sometimes we wouldn't be able to pay all the bills by the end of camp, but we paid everything. And at first we just had 1 week of camp, and then we had 2 weeks of camp. And I can't remember if we went above that or not, but we would get a larger camp and have more children. And then, of course, when Jonas came and bought this land and built a camp, we could bring, the children that were eligible. Of course, they could come and pay too, I think, but I'm not sure about that. We can now, but back then I think they had to learn the verses in order to come to camp. The Lord always provided our needs, and we had many precious souls saved, and Christians who grew in grace. And my pastor now is a graduate of CBM, and he's a graduate of Dallas Theological Seminary, and he's my pastor. After he got saved at camp, he came out of the auditorium and he was walking across the field, and he was so happy. So we've had a blessed ministry.